The silence of the galaxy was an illusion. Beneath the calm, fear moved like a shadow, unspoken but always present. Every species knew it, but no one dared to say it aloud. The fear had a name: humanity. For centuries, the great empires of the stars ruled uncontested. The Ivran Dominion, the Selfar Alliance, and the mighty Zorvax Imperium shaped the balance of power. Wars happened, alliances were made, but everything remained predictable. Then humans arrived, a small species from an unremarkable planet called Earth. At first, they seemed weak, fragile creatures with soft bodies and short lifespans. But those who underestimated them never lived to tell the tale. Humans were different. They did not bow to greater forces. They did not accept defeat. And worst of all, they did not fear death the way others did. When war came, humans did not run. They fought, adapted, and survived. No matter how many times they were beaten down, they always found a way to rise again. This terrified the old powers of the galaxy. At first, humanity was ignored. Their tiny fleets, their primitive weapons, their short history among the stars, none of it seemed like a threat. But as the years passed, things began to change. Human colonies spread faster than anyone expected. Their technology advanced at an unnatural speed. Their ships, once outdated and weak, became stronger with each battle. And then there were the stories. Stories of human soldiers who refused to die, of human pilots who fought against impossible odds and won, of human engineers who turned broken wrecks into deadly war machines. Whispers spread across the galaxy. There were rumors of battles where human forces, outnumbered 10-1, emerged victorious. Entire fleets had vanished after engaging human warships. The Ivran Dominion lost an entire planet overnight when a single human strike team infiltrated their defenses. The Selfar Alliance attempted to blockade a human colony, only for their ships to be torn apart by what survivors described as a storm of fire and steel. The Zorvax Imperium, the most powerful empire in the galaxy, sent their dreadnoughts to crush humanity once and for all. None returned. No one knew how humans kept winning. Their technology was not the best. Their fleets were not the largest. But they had something else, something no other species could understand: determination, madness, a refusal to accept defeat, even when logic said they should. Now, the galaxy stood at a crossroads. The old empires whispered in fear, uncertain of what to do. Humanity had not declared war on them, but they had also not sworn loyalty to anyone. They existed outside the control of the great powers, a wild force that could not be tamed. Some leaders argued for peace, hoping to form alliances with the unpredictable species. Others demanded war, believing humanity must be destroyed before it was too late. Among the highest councils of the galaxy, an unspoken question hung in the air, too dangerous to say aloud but too important to ignore. Had they waited too long? Had they already lost? The Galactic Council chambers were silent. The leaders of the great empires sat around a massive circular table, their faces grim. A meeting like this had not happened in centuries. The last time such a gathering took place was during the war against the Devourers, a species that consumed entire planets before they were wiped out. But today's meeting was not about an invading horror. It was about humans. High Chancellor Varric of the Ivran Dominion cleared his throat. His golden eyes, usually full of confidence, now held uncertainty. "We must discuss the human problem," he said, his voice heavy. "They are no longer a minor species. They have become unpredictable." Supreme Strategist Yeltera of the Selfar Alliance leaned forward, her mandibles clicking in frustration. "Unpredictable. They are worse than that. They do not follow logic. They do not surrender. I have studied their battles. There is no pattern to their strategies. One fleet fights like disciplined soldiers, the next like suicidal berserkers. We cannot prepare for an enemy like this." Warlord Kradax of the Zorvax Imperium let out a low growl. His massive armored body tensed. "This is nonsense. We have crushed countless enemies. The humans are no different." He slammed a clawed fist on the table. "We should destroy them before they become a true threat." A deep silence followed his words. Destroy humanity. If only it were that simple. The truth was, they had already tried. The Zorvax had launched 3 major offensives against human colonies. All had ended in disaster. Their fleets had superior firepower, but humans fought with a level of desperation the galaxy had never seen. They used ambushes, guerrilla tactics, and psychological warfare. They turned asteroids into bombs, sacrificed ships to take down larger targets, and even detonated their own planets to deny the enemy a foothold. The Ivran Dominion attempted a more subtle approach. They tried to control humans through politics, offering them trade deals, alliances, and diplomatic pressure. But humans refused to play the game. They remained independent, forming their own power blocks outside the influence of the old empires. Worse, they had started forming alliances with lesser species, giving them access to advanced technology and military strategies. The Xelfar, known for their intelligence and adaptability, tried to infiltrate human society. They sent spies, studied their weaknesses, and attempted sabotage. Every agent they sent either vanished or defected, choosing to stay with the humans instead. The worst case was when a Xelfar infiltration team attempted to manipulate human leaders through economic pressure, only for the humans to collapse their own economy on purpose, rebuild it stronger, and force the Xelfar to retreat in confusion. Humanity was not a single threat. It was many threats, layered on top of each other, a puzzle the galaxy could not solve. The supreme strategist exhaled slowly. "We are running out of time," she admitted. "Humans do not seek war, but they do not fear it either. If we wait too long, they may reach a point where even our strongest fleets cannot challenge them." Chancellor Varric nodded. "Then we must decide now. Do we strike, or do we try to negotiate?" All eyes turned to Warlord Kradax. His race, the Zorvax, was the most warlike species in the galaxy. If he refused peace, war was inevitable. Kradax's claws scraped against the metal table. His red eyes burned with rage. He wanted to destroy humanity, but deep down, even he felt it. The cold touch of fear, the same fear that had been spreading through every empire, every fleet, every ruler. The fear of what would happen if they failed. The war decision was made. It was not announced publicly, nor was it debated for long. The great empires understood that hesitation meant giving humanity more time to grow stronger, and that was unacceptable. A silent agreement passed among the leaders. Humanity had to be crushed before it was too late. The plan was simple. The Ivran Dominion, the Xelfar Alliance, and the Zorvax Imperium would combine their fleets for a single overwhelming strike. Humanity had colonies spread across multiple systems, but their core military strength was still centered around a few key planets. If those planets fell, humanity would be forced to surrender. The Zorvax took charge of the attack. Their war fleets, the most feared in the galaxy, would spearhead the invasion. The Xelfar would handle intelligence and sabotage, ensuring human defenses were weakened before the first shots were fired. The Ivran, masters of diplomacy and strategy, would control the aftermath, ensuring humanity's submission once their forces were broken. Everything was planned to perfection. Every possible human response was considered. The empires had learned from their past mistakes. They knew humans were unpredictable, but this time, there would be no escape. The attack was scheduled to begin at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. In one synchronized assault, hundreds of warships would strike human-controlled space. Thousands of soldiers would land on key planets. Human defenses, spread too thin, would be crushed before they could organize a response. The galaxy would finally be rid of its greatest uncertainty. But as the fleets moved into position, something unexpected happened. A message was intercepted. A distress signal coming from a deep space outpost near the human frontier. The transmission was weak, barely holding together through interference. But what little was heard sent a chill through every officer who listened. Requesting immediate evac, they found us. We thought it was abandoned, but no, they're coming. Static. Then a final whisper. They were already here. The fleet commanders exchanged uneasy glances. The human frontier was supposed to be lightly defended. No major forces had been detected there. But now, a Zorvac scouting team had gone missing. No signs of battle, no distress beacons, just silence. Warlord Kradax dismissed the report as meaningless. Scouting teams disappeared all the time. This changed nothing. The attack would proceed as planned. But deep in the darkness of space, beyond their sensors, something was waiting, watching. And when the great fleets of the galaxy finally made their move, humanity would be ready. The attack began at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. Thousands of warships roared through the void, moving in perfect synchronization. The combined fleets of the Wyvran Dominion, the Selfar Alliance, and the Zorvax Imperium spread across human space like a tidal wave. The plan was flawless. The humans would be overwhelmed before they had a chance to fight back. Except, something was wrong. The first wave of attackers reached the outer human colonies. They expected resistance, fleets scrambling to defend, planetary defenses firing desperately. Instead, they found nothing. No warships, no planetary shields, no distress signals. The colonies were abandoned. Cities stood empty. Space stations floated in silence. The humans were gone. Confusion spread through the attacking forces. Had humanity fled? Had they somehow predicted the attack and evacuated? But there was no sign of a mass exodus. No overloaded ships. No escape routes. It was as if the humans had simply vanished. Then the first fleet disappeared. A Zorvax battle group, one of the most powerful formations in the invasion force, stopped responding. Their last transmission was a garbled mess of static and screams. No one knew what happened. No debris was found. No emergency beacons activated. And then it happened again. A Wyvran strike force, sent to secure a key industrial world, went silent. A Selfar sabotage team, tasked with disabling human defense networks, vanished without a trace. Panic began to ripple through the ranks. Warlord Kradax, aboard his flagship, clenched his claws. "Find me answers," he growled. Now. Scouts were sent out. They searched the abandoned colonies, the silent battlefields, the dark void between the stars. What they found made their blood run cold. Wreckage. Not human wreckage. Their own. Zorvax, Selfar, and Igran ships, torn apart by weapons they did not understand. The bodies of their soldiers, floating in space, their armor shattered, their weapons useless. The battlefield was silent, but the message was clear. The humans had not fled. They had set a trap. And now, the hunters had become the prey. The great war fleets of the galaxy were now in chaos. Admirals barked desperate orders. Commanders scrambled for explanations, but no one had answers. The invasion was supposed to be swift, an overwhelming show of force. Instead, the attackers were disappearing one by one. Warlord Kradax refused to believe it at first. His fleet was the strongest in the galaxy. The Zorvax had conquered countless worlds. They had fought brutal wars for centuries. No enemy had ever forced them to retreat. Yet now, entire battle groups were vanishing without a trace. Kradax slammed his fist against the command table, his red eyes burning with rage. This is deception. Trickery. The humans are weak. They cannot defeat us. But deep down, doubt had started to creep into his mind. The humans were not fighting like before. They were not sending fleets to battle. They were not responding to hails. They were not negotiating. They were simply watching, waiting. Then, without warning, the first human warship revealed itself. It was not a fleet, not a swarm of ships, just one. A single dark figure emerging from the shadows of an abandoned world. At first, the Zorvax fleet did not react. What was one ship against an armada? But as it moved closer, sensors began to fail. Long-range scanners flickered, struggling to get a reading. The ship's energy signature was impossible, as if it was both there and not there at the same time. Then the transmission started, not in the common galactic language, but in human voices, cold, calm, and full of something far worse than rage. "You shouldn't have come here," Kredak snarled, baring his fangs. "Destroy it. Now." The fleet opened fire. Thousands of energy blasts lit up the void, racing toward the lone human warship. But before they struck, the ship vanished. Not destroyed. Not hit. Just gone. For a moment, silence. Then, one by one, the warships of the great empire started to explode. Not from outside attacks, not from enemy fire. From within. Their hulls ruptured, their engines failed, their crews screamed as their own ships turned against them. The impossible was happening. Humanity had taken control of their fleets. And somewhere in the darkness, the human warship whispered again. "You thought this was war." A pause. "No, this is a lesson." Panic spread like wildfire through the invading fleets. Warlord Kredak watched in horror as his warships crumbled without a single shot being fired in return. His finest battleships, the pride of the Zorvax Imperium, detonated from the inside. The Ivoran flagships twisted and collapsed as if something had infected their very metal. The Xelfar fleets, renowned for their cunning and deception, had no counter to an enemy they could not see. The lone human warship was still there, waiting, watching. Kredak bared his fangs, forcing down his fear. "Regroup. All ships, fall back to formation." Then it spoke again. "You came to end us. You thought you were prepared." Kradak's claws dug into the armrest of his command chair. He could feel something creeping into his ship's systems. Not a virus, not a hack. Something else. Something that did not just take control, it understood. "Our worlds are empty because we let you enter." The screens flickered. Crew members screamed as the ship's internal lights pulsed, then dimmed to nothing. For the first time in his life, Kredak felt true fear. A deep, low hum echoed through the hull of his flagship. The air itself seemed to vibrate. Then, without warning, the walls began to shift. Not physically, not visibly, but Kredak could feel it. The ship was no longer his. "All this time, you feared our weapons, our numbers." His crew gasped. The main view screen now displayed something new. Not statistics, not battle maps, but a reflection. Their own faces, their own bodies, their own fear. "You never considered that the real danger was something else." Kredak stood, his breathing heavy. "What are you?" For the first time, the human ship responded directly. "We are the ones you should have never woken up." The ship's engines flared. The void itself seemed to ripple. Then, in one instant, the flagship, the fleet, the invasion force, vanished. The silence stretched across the galaxy, thick with unspoken fear. No distress signals came from the invading fleets. No calls for help. No survivors. One moment, thousands of warships had been tearing through human space, and the next, they were gone. There was no wreckage, no debris, no evidence that they had ever existed at all. The Zorvax Imperium, the Ivoran Dominion, and the Xelfar Alliance, once the most feared forces in the galaxy, were now crippled by fear. Their great war fleets had vanished, and they had no idea how or why. But the whispers had already begun. Some claimed the humans had developed a weapon beyond understanding, something that didn't destroy, but erased. Others insisted that the humans had unlocked something far worse, that they had gone beyond mere technology and touched the fabric of reality itself. The most terrifying rumor of all, however, was simpler. The humans had changed. No longer just another species fighting for survival. No longer playing by the galaxy's rules. They had become something else. And they were watching. On the Zorvak's homeworld, Warlord Kradax's disappearance was met with confusion. At first, his high command assumed it was a miscommunication, a delayed transmission, a navigational error. But as the hours stretched into days, it became clear. The invasion fleet was not coming back. The fleet's officers were gone, their families left with no answers. Every trace of the operation had vanished as if it had never happened. Records were wiped. Official reports contradicted themselves. Even spoken memories seemed to fade, as if the event itself was being unwritten from history. The Ivran Dominion fared no better. The ruling council called emergency meetings, desperate to understand what had happened. But the more they searched for answers, the more questions they found. Long-range scans of human space showed nothing. No debris, no battles, no defenses. It was as if the invasion had never taken place. Yet, the fear remained. The humans had not responded with fleets, had not retaliated with war, had not made demands. They had simply removed the threat. The council debated retaliation, but no one dared give the order. If the humans could do this to the greatest armadas in the galaxy, what chance did the rest of them have? In the Xelfar alliance, paranoia spread like wildfire. The Xelfar prided themselves on their intelligence networks, their ability to predict and manipulate galactic events. Yet, for the first time in their history, they had no idea what had happened. Spies sent to investigate simply never returned. Probes ceased transmitting. Even automated records from neutral parties held gaps. Something had altered them. The Xelfar had long believed themselves to be the most cunning species in the galaxy, but now they faced a simple, undeniable truth. They had underestimated humanity. And now, they could never trust what they thought they knew. Then came the final message. It arrived on every major world, on every military outpost, on every empire's home planet. No signal was detected, no source was identified. It simply appeared, displayed on screens, spoken through communication devices in a voice that no one would ever forget. You started this war. A pause. But now, it's over. Another pause. For now. Then silence. The message ended. No follow-up. No explanation. The galaxy, once filled with empires that had feared nothing, was left with only one certainty. Humanity had become something beyond their understanding, and if they ever dared to strike again, the humans would be waiting.